Ski for Light 50th Anniversary Gala, October 12th, 2024, Minneapolis, Minnesota at Norway House. This opening sequence of the gala video features music performed live at the event by Grammy Award-winning Danish violinist Mads Tolling. We see images of some of the decor, the beautiful table decorations, the vintage t-shirts hanging in the lobby, and some of the 150 new and old friends who gathered for this very special event. The next voice you'll hear will be the organizer of this celebration, Ski for Light's 50th anniversary, Leslee Hoyum.
One thing about Ski for Light is the lifelong friends that you make. And many of you are my lifelong friends. Leif Eikevik and I were chosen as official guides to the Ridderrenn in 1982. Along with us went Laura Oftedal and Tom Bergender. There they are, back there. And we had a wonderful time. But what are they? They're lifelong friends. And the more you go to Ski for Light, the more lifelong friends you make. One of my lifelong friends now is in year 50 with me, and that is our wonderful Emcee for the evening, all the way from Stavanger, Norway, and that is Einar Berg. Einar went to the University of Minnesota. He also got an advanced degree at the University in Arizona. He worked at the American Embassy. He then went back to Norway and worked with the American Field Service. Then he came back to New York and worked for the Norwegian Information Service. And then he came as the General Public Relations Manager for Sons of Norway. And he was very keen on that job because he knew that he was going to be a part of Ski for Light, and he loved that idea. Unfortunately, he did leave us at one time and went back to Norway. And he went to work for Mobil Oil and then for Storedal, and has done a lot of traveling around the world with the oil companies. He has one son, he has a couple grandchildren, and he's married to a lovely, lovely woman from South Dakota named Mary Lynn. It's all yours, Einar.
Thank you for those kind words, Leslee. Appreciate it. And let me join you in welcoming all of you. It's a little late in the evening now, but thank you for being here for Ski for Light. And I'm very glad that I was asked to kind of guide you through the rest of the program. And guide is the operative word in this crowd. In fact, and this may be a little presumptuous, but I've been known to introduce myself as the original skiing eye dog. At Race for Light in Summit County, Colorado in '75, I was more an observer than anything else. But somebody said, hey, you're from Norway and you guys are all born with skis on your feet. Guide Oral Miller over there. Okay, Oral was a big and legally blind fellow from Kentucky, a Kentucky colonel, in fact, and he was a lawyer for the U.S. Small Business Administration in D.C. Had never had skis on his feet. I showed him what was up and down on a pair of skinny skis and poles, and we headed out. Oral did a lot of falling that day, and he made deep pits in the tracks. And he just laughed and got up and kept on skiing. And in the bar in the Frisco Holiday Inn that evening, he told some of his friends, "Folks, today I skied with 2 Poles and 1 Norwegian." Oral became a long-time member of the Ski for Light Board of Directors and vice president of the executive committee. He was also active in other organizations for visually impaired people, including USABA, United States Association of Blind Athletes, and the American Council of the Blind. At Princeton University, he joined the crew team, and he graduated from the University of Chicago Law School. Oral passed away during the summer of 2023. As most, or perhaps all of you know, Ski for Light was modeled after a program in Norway called Ridderne, or the Knight's Race. That's Knights. And that was started by a man known as a blind visionary. And his name was Erling Storedal. He was physically active from an early age, became blind at 12, but kept on running and skiing. And he became national accordion champion at age 15. He then studied at the academy, at the Music Academy in Oslo, and got a diploma degree with organ as his main instrument. He got together with another blind musician named Gunnar Engedahl, and they formed a duo which played 5,000 concerts, sold 500,000 records, and they donated the proceeds to the Association for the Blind in Norway. Their tunes were played on Norwegian radio all the time, I remember. We'd like to play one of them now for you, called Minnenes Melodi, or Melody of Memories.
Som jeg lytter til en melodi som gjør min tanke så fluktende fri, skjenker meg minner om tider som svant, den min lykkes pant. De vakre toner fører meg tilbake til et lite hus I bjerkers ly med en blomsterhage. Selv millioner ville jeg forsake om jeg bare kunne se igjen.
Erling wrote that when he was 13. Okay, it might not have made the charts today, but they were really popular in their day, these two. Sometimes when they'd come someplace to give a concert, they were invited to spend the night in some well-to-do farmer's house instead of having to stay in one more hotel. On one of those occasions, their host took them outside after breakfast the next morning and said, "Everything you see from here is part of my farm." "Well," said Erling, "that ain't much to brag about." Eventually, our friend Erling retired from life on the road because he wanted to do something for his fellow disabled people, to actively involve them in physical exercise. And to reach his goals, he needed help from some of his friends. He had many, beginning with King Olav. And Erling never took no for an answer, not even from royalty. In fact, the king once said, "Be careful with that Erling Stordahl. Offer him a little finger and he takes your whole hand." Erling started the Ridderen after being out skiing near their home one day and chancing to come across some tracks from belted military vehicles. The army had an exercise up in the mountains. And he felt that it was so much easier to ski on that packed snow than in loose powder. So he began asking for help from people to put together an event. So he started with the king, because if the king said yes, no one else would say no. So he wanted the king to be his guide in the first Ridderen. And the king said, "Well, what's the distance going to be?" And he said, 42 kilometers. And that's the same as an Olympic marathon run. "Well, I'll do it if it's half that distance," said the king. So any one of us who has skied in that Ridderen can thank the king for making the distance half of what Erling had in mind originally. By the way, how many of you here have been to the Ridderen and have skied? Well, that's at least 25, maybe 30 by a quick count. The king ended up not guiding Erling Stordahl in that race, but he was present at the start and he was giving everybody a push to get going in those smooth, nice tracks made by the Norwegian military. Because the generals hadn't said no to him either, so they made the tracks. Every year, an official Ski for Light contingent, as you heard already from Leslee, goes to this event in Norway. 2 disabled skiers and 2 guides. And in 1978, Bjarne Eikevik and I were the guides, and Diane Lemke from Minnesota and Bill Gibney from Arizona were the skiers. On the way to the venue, we stopped at the Epoki ski factory. And at that time, they were making wooden skis, all yellow painted. So in the ski tracks at Ski for Light or at Ridderen, you would recognize those skis. So we got into this factory, and then the director was a man named Einar Elverum. And we noticed that on his office wall, there was a sign. If God meant for man to have fiberglass skis, he would have made fiberglass trees. All the other ski manufacturers were making fiberglass skis in those days. 1 year later, Epoki had retooled, and they too were making fiberglass skis. The nature of competition, I guess. In 1975, for the first event, Erling Stordahl had starting bib number 1 in the Saturday skiing competition, and Colorado Governor Richard Lamb volunteered to be his guide, as he considered himself a pretty good recreational skier. The Norwegian group knew that Erling was in pretty good shape. Then, so as a backup plan, they stationed Håkon Brusveen, old gold medal skier from the Olympics, in Squaw Valley in 1960. So he was out there about a kilometer or two in the track, in case the good governor had trouble keeping up with Erling Storedal. That turned out to be very good thinking, because Governor Lamb was in fact falling behind then. So Håkon Brusveen, he stepped into the left track and guided Erling to a point close to the end of the race. And by then, the governor had been shown a shortcut, and he stepped into the track again, so that it was he and Erling Storedal who actually crossed the finish line. Unfortunately, ski writer Charlie Myers from the Denver Post noticed what was going on, and he wrote about that in his Monday piece about Race for Light. And the other Denver daily, the Rocky Mountain News, also devoted a full page to our event, but they didn't know about the shortcut. Although the model and inspiration for Olav Pedersen's American program was Erling's Ridderen in Norway, each version has kind of developed a personality of its own. The Ridderen is always held at Beitostølen, and it's kind of competitive in spirit. The Ski for Light started out as Race for Light, but changed its name when Oral Miller and Bud Keith got involved. And they wanted to make it more recreational than competitive, or at least to give the participants a choice in the matter. So beginning with the Ski for Light in Minneapolis in 1976, which Kjell was involved in, the program became known as Ski for Light. Håkon Brusveen, I just mentioned, but I have to mention that he was asked by Mr. Stordahl to conduct the world's first ski clinic for blind people up at Beitostølen. That was in '61. And he had 30 people from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark all lined up, and he hadn't had a lot to do with the blind folks, so he said, "Now look at me, everyone." So that they had fun with that, and they had a good ski seminar, I might say. Olav Pedersen then asked Erling if we're going back in history, but anyway, he asked Erling Storedal to come and help them to start up the program in America. And he said, "Yeah, I'll do that if the intention is to make it an ongoing program, not a one-time stunt." And with that, the ball started rolling. So today, as we look to celebrate the first 50 years of Ski for Light, yeah, we can agree it's an ongoing program. Olav Pedersen worked as a ski instructor in Breckenridge and a house builder in the off-season. He was inducted in the Colorado Ski Hall of Fame and also in the US Ski Hall of Fame in Ishpeming in Michigan. Olav passed away in 2004. As for Erling, he had died 10 years earlier in October 1994. The last time I saw him was in the Paralympic Games at Lillehammer in 1994. and he was on his way to compete in a Paralympic race. I was there because I was information manager for the Paralympics in '94. Now, Jim Salestrom, some of you know. He was a longtime friend of Ski for Light and Olav Pedersen. He was a showman, singer, songwriter, and guitarist who toured for over 20 years with Dolly Parton and also worked with John Denver. He performed free of charge at Ski for Light several years when it was held in Colorado. And many of us had been looking forward to hearing him in Utah in January. Unfortunately, he passed away in November, I think, last year. So we'd like to hear a little bit of one of the songs he wrote for Ski for Light.
It's been 40 years, remember, Erling Storedal was a folk singer in Norway, like John Denver. He was blind and heaven knows, he loved the great outdoors, he loved the freedom of skiing. And Olav Pedersen, a loving, caring citizen, made the difference then from Voss, Norway. And when he moved, he just knew he made it true for me and you. Through the sons of Norway. And Casey Bear, my little girl, was here. She was 12 years old and guiding without fear. I see where you are coming from. I hear where you are coming from. Gliding on the snow, you're a sight to behold. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know exactly what it means to ski the world and ski the dream. And with your special ways, you'll be the guide today. Your Ski for Light will follow you. With your special ways, you'll be the guide today.
Jim Salestrom. A Ski for Light 50th anniversary book called Ski for Light Turns 50 is under production, and we hope you'll order one maybe before you go home tonight. It will be available in print, braille, and audio versions, and it goes into a bit more depth than we're able to do here tonight, and of course provides a historical record of the first half century of our organization. One of the chapters in the book is about a person we've called Erik the Great. One of the people who played a big part in getting the program off the ground in 74-75. His name was Erik Bye, spelled B-Y-E, and he was the best known and most loved radio and television person in Norway. He led a show about the Norwegian immigration to America in Carnegie Hall with King Olav as the guest of honor. And also he wrote a book based on that show, which was published first in Norwegian and then in an English version published here in Minneapolis by the Sons of Norway and the Norwegian American Cultural Institute. We would like to give you just a little sample of that. So we have asked someone to read one poem from that book about the Norwegian immigrant experience. The reader was very much involved in the publication of the book. He's been a member of he was a member of the organizing committee of Ski for Light here in '76, a board member of Ski for Light, race announcer 9 years running for Ski for Light, president of the Sons of Norway Foundation, president of the Vinland National Center, board member of the Norwegian American Cultural Institute, honorary consul for Tanzania here in Minnesota, not too much skiing going on there, owner and president of Borton Motors and Borton Overseas Travel. The latter has been a Ski for Light sponsor for several years running. He's also been a talk show host, and he happens to be my good brother. Please put your hands together for Kjell Bergh.
Since Erik was a friend of mine for the better part of 40 years, I know he'd be seriously offended if I tried to read one of his works in a suit and tie, so the jacket comes off. So he set music to this and published it on several records. But I promise that I will not try to sing it. I'm not authorized even to sing in the shower, so you're going to have to put up with a verbal presentation instead to give you a sample of what he wrote about the immigrant experience 50 years ago. And the song, or the poem, if you will, is called Land and Sky. This table here needs a little help, but we'll figure it out. They called me Crazy Ole. I was born a mountain man, but I crossed the sea from Norway for to plow the prairie land. The sun was hot and the sky was big, and the soil, it sure smelled fine. So I staked my claim, and I hitched my team, and I called the prairie mine. Oh, land and sky, oh, land and sky, but never a place for a mountain man to rest his mind and eye. Yes, the sky was big and the land was big and as flat could be. And I felt that I was lost somewhere on a dried up silent sea. And I lost my sleep, and my wife would fret, and she'd say, well, I declare, what a silly fool to be looking for a mountain that ain't there. She said I was a sinful man, and she made it pretty clear. Had the good Lord so intended, he would have made the mountain here. Well, he hasn't yet, I told her, and I'm sure he never will. But if he won't make a mountain, by God, I'll make a hill. So I grabbed my pick and shovel, and I piled the sod on high, and pretty soon the mighty mound was reaching for the sky. They called me Crazy Ole, and I said, that may well be true, but the man who climbs the highest peak will have the better view. When I was done, I felt at ease, and the prairie was my friend, for I had a mountain of my own to call me home again. I thanked the Lord for patience, and I hoped he'd understand that since I couldn't change myself, I'd have to change the land. So now you know the story of Crazy Ole's mound, and of a man who had an urge to lift his eyes from the ground. And if you ask me what I got for all my sweat and pains, by gosh, I built the only mountain on the North Dakota plains. Oh, land and sky, oh, land and sky, forever land and sky. I got me a place for a mountain man to rest his mind and eye. Thank you. I'm going to take a 30-second personal privilege that I think you may not object to. Bud Keith was a friend of mine for many, many years, and the only blind athlete who came with me on the photo safari to Tanzania and had a blast and was the life of the party. Very, very intuitive, and he shared a lion kill from his experience as a blind man. Fabulous, and he traveled around the country to talk about blind safaris, which was an interesting concept. Not a particularly successful marketing ploy, but it was interesting. So I've done a few things before to honor Bud, and I'd like to do so again. So I think you'll forgive me for taking the extra 30 seconds here. I'd like to present Ski for Light with a check for $10,000 in the memory of Bud Keith.
Thank you, Kjell. Erik Bye died in 2004. 1 year later, Norway's Man of the Century was to be named. And Erik Bye came out as number 3, behind King Olav and post-World War II Prime Minister Einar. So you can see we were right to call him Erik the Great in the book. Erling Stordahl's son, Erling Magnus Stordahl, lives on the family farm in a place that Leslee knows well, not too far from the town of Sandefjord. And that farm used to be the residence of King Magnus the Blind of Norway. Yes, there was such a person. He was king from 1130 to 35 and 1137 to 39 and lived on that spot, on that farm, Storedal. We asked Erling Magnus to share some thoughts about the life of his dad, which he agreed to. So now we'll see him up on the screen.
Hello everyone, my name is Erling Magnus Stordahl and my father was Erling Stordahl. First of all, congratulations with Ski for Light 50 year next year in Salt Lake. Now I'm going to talk about my father was doing for handicapped people all around the world for many years. He started the first blind course in 1962 in Beitostølen with the Olympics winner Håkon Brusveen as instruction. That was the start. And in 1970 the riddle became and the King Olav was there, and it was about 25 kilometers. It was a long race that time. And now it's about 350 people who starting riddle, and it's 60 years now this year. And is people all around the world, from Canada, Japan, from United States, from Norway, of course, Sweden, Finland, or Netherlands. This was a start, and they also start in Bulgaria and Japan, in Canada, and of course in Ski for Light in Colorado in 1975. So he's doing a lot of things for handicap already there. And the motto that time was build your body and learn and see with your mind. That was the motto. In 1917 he started Beitostølen Health Sport Center in the mountain Beitostølen. It was a center, it's now also a center for all type of handicap. Children, adults who train, and the social And it's about 900 clients every year who are training there. And now it's about 120 who are working there. So it's a big center. And last, I'm going to tell, he started also in 1917, called Storedal Kulturcenter. It's a center for all type of people, handicapped, not handicapped, and it's a center who can fill nearly 200 plants, a sculpture, and a sculpture who is built is 19-meter high and controlled by the light. So it's a very special sculpture. So many people all around the world visit the center. So, but I can talk about a lot of things about my father. But the last one, congratulations next year for Ski for Light 50 year, and we see you, and I see you next year. Bye.
And we look forward to seeing Erling Magnus in Provo, Utah, in not long from now. One of the pillars of Ski for Light in the early years was Jan Haug, a ski dealer in Minneapolis who provided free skis for all first-time skiers in the program for several years running, and he even fitted the skis on the new ones who came in. And they were allowed to take the skis home with them afterwards so that they could keep on skiing. Jan also served as a board member, and as a token of appreciation, the board created the annual Jan Haug Award. It's given to a first-time skier who has shown exceptional enthusiasm for the program and for the Ski for Light experience. Jan is no longer with us, but we're very glad that his children are, and I'd like them to stand up so we can give them and their late dad a hand. Thank you for being here. And we also have with us this year's winner of the Jan Haug Award. And we've asked him to share a few thoughts about what this is all about. Lucas Rice, the floor is yours.
Good evening. So, I was mainly raised in Georgia, so not really much snow and ice around there. You know, after half an inch of snow in Georgia, everybody closes down the city and that's it. So it's not really much going on, but I moved to Wisconsin about 2 years ago, and the first time I heard about Ski for Light was through an email that a coworker sent. And I remember clicking on the link, and I had just the bare bones of what Ski for Light was. You went out wherever they were going to go, which happened to be in Rhinelander last year, and you would ski with a guide, and you would be out there for like 7 days. So I clicked on the link. I didn't know what exactly I was getting into, but it sounded lovely. It sounded extremely exciting. So I clicked on it, and I didn't tell anyone that I clicked on it and signed up because I was like, people are gonna think I'm too hasty. Oh my God. So I didn't tell anybody I signed up until like 3 days later, and then before I went to the event itself, I got to ski with Bold maybe a couple of times. And so when I came to Ski for Light, I heard about the Jan Haug Award kind of like someone saying, "Oh yeah, you know, maybe you'll be the one who'll get the skis." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess maybe." And so I came to Ski for Light, and my guide was Greg Cox. And I remember when I was talking to him, you know, I would say, "Oh yeah, I did it a little bit." It's kind of like being on an elliptical, which is totally not at all. So, you know, and I think Greg didn't agree or disagree, but he is an awesome instructor. I also worked with Betsy Fisher for a couple of lessons, and basically I was learning. I wanted to master skiing, and I just remember thinking, I gotta go home and I gotta get the skis. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh man, I really hope I get this award. There's so many first timers here, but I don't know if I'll be the one who, you know, will be chosen to, you know, get the award. And so either way, I was gonna rent out the skis, buy some skis, and go out there and, you know, start skiing. And that last night, they were saying who was gonna get the skis. And at first, I didn't realize they were talking about me until, you know, they started listing, you know, a lot of things that were, you know, characteristics of me. And so they chose me, and it was a very, very, you know, emotional moment. And, you know, now, you know, I don't have to worry about, you know, buying skis or poles. I can just go wherever I want to ski, and learn. Before I get off, I just want to say that I am very thankful for the reward, and, you know, as a thank you, I would love to offer my help in any way that I can to Ski for Light. I just want it to be known that I am willing to help in any way, and you all just reach out to me and put me wherever I will fit best. Thank you. Because I do want, you know, the whole program to continue. As it was said, you know, it should be something that lasts for years and generations, and I would love to be part of the next generation, you know, to be, you know, the one who continues it, or be one of the people who continues it. So 50, 100, 200, who knows?
Thank you, Lucas. Now, here are the little skis with the names of the winners of the Jan Haug Award over the years. On this one, there's only one name, Lucas Rice, this year's winner. Now we know that some of you here took part in the skiathons, which Ski for Light organized for Vinland National Center. So this is the US version of the Ridderen. No, it's not, but let's see. The Vinland National Center, let me put it right here, is the US version of the Beitostølen Health Sports Center in Norway. And some of you may even have seen, there's a picture of them on the wall outside here, the 400 skiers from Norway, members of the Norwegian Ski Association, who came here to raise funds for Vinland. 2 jumbo jets full of skiers from Norway. And they marched in the St. Paul Winter Carnival Parade, all having the same ski outfits and holding their skis up high, behind a big sign reading all the way from Norway to ski in the Ski for Lights Skiathons for Vinland National Center. And I can tell you the applause over there in St. Paul was enormous for these people. The year after, 400 more skiers came, raised funds for Vinland, gave talks about the sport of skiing in different organizations and schools and so on. So that was a good program. Our next speaker was Twin Cities fundraising chair through the skiathons. And that speaker is Ivar Sorensen, who has since moved to the famous winter sports state of Florida. So he and his wife Ingeborg have done sort of a reverse snowbird exercise to come and be here with us tonight. Ivar, you're next.
Thank you, Einar. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you all for being here. Leslee, in particular, for again saying yes when you were asked to organize this thing. We had a chat about that not too long ago, that this may be it, but I am pretty sure that's not going to be the case. So hang in there. Anyway, before, I'm going to give you just a short story about a little fundraiser we did here in the Twin Cities that ended up with a nice little twist. But before I get to that, I would like to recognize my table mates over here. It's a group from St. Cloud. We were all members of the Trollheim Lodge in St. Cloud. I happened to be president up there. They hadn't seen a Norwegian live one up there for a long time. So when I showed up, they roped me in, and we had the opportunity to work with a lot of wonderful people. Trollheim Lodge actually completed the very first skiathon fundraiser. It happened on the 28th of January in 1978. And, my table mates here, my wife Ingeborg, of course, Talleif and Karen Vollen. Talleif is multiple-time president of the lodge up there. She has been recycled more than once. He is also, a dedicated skier. I think he has 30-plus Birkis behind him, 10 international World Loppet and skiathons and Ridderrennet and all of those things. With them also Phyllis and Jim Framstead, dedicated skiers, members of the lodge, and last but not least, Vollen Jr., John, and his wife Mary Lou. So that kind of got us first started on all of this. So this was in 1978. We moved to the Twin Cities in 79, 1980, somewhere around there. And a couple of years later, I ended up as co-chair, actually, with Leslee of a skiathon to be held here in the Twin Cities. There's a lot of work that goes into that. There are costs involved in building up to it. Those of you who have been involved, you know this. So as we were preparing for this, and I believe the year was 1982, and Leslee might correct me on that, but 81, 82, might have been 83. I can't find those records anymore. It might have been 81. Anyway, so here it goes. So we're working on this. We have a normal Minnesota winter. Snow comes. It seems to be staying around. People are skiing. We were preparing for a big event and a skiathon to be held in February. And you don't really expect too much trouble around all of that. But, I had a couple of things that kind of perked in the back of my mind. What if we can't pull this off? What if we have to cancel it? We will have spent months and months, spent a lot of money getting it all organized. What if? And I kind of thought back at a couple of experiences. Number one, I know that as an occasional golfer, I played in some tournaments, and sometimes you do this in a fundraiser, and you see a $100,000 car sitting over there on a pedestal, and you could walk home with that or drive it home if you get a hole-in-one. Well, you know, a $20,000 fundraiser can't afford to take that risk. So what do? They talk to an insurance company, right? I had also been party in 1970 to a fundraiser held in Oslo at my university there. We had taken upon us the task of raising money for the Red Cross, and a very ambitious proposition. We bought shellfish, lobsters, shrimp, and other things from all over the place, with the idea of selling it on the street in Oslo outside the National Theatre on a particular day in the spring. That was risky. And some of the guys on that committee also thought about the risk. And what if it rains cats and dogs all morning in Oslo and we've got a truckload full of stuff to sell and nothing goes? Well, we bought an insurance policy that simply said that if it rains more than so much between the hours of 10 and 2 in the afternoon at that spot in Oslo on that particular day, the policy would kick in. Well, it rained cats and dogs. We sold out everything we had, made the profit, collected the insurance policy, and somehow, you know, we were able to bring this idea forward to this particular skiathon. After talking it through with the committee, you know, I was able to find an insurance company in town that was willing to take the risk. And we paid $300 for this no snow possible cancellation possibility. And the policy simply said that if on the Friday afternoon before the event at Theodore Park there was less than 2 inches of snow at the starting gate, the policy would pay off. So I said we had had a normal winter until that Friday morning. It started raining, everything thawed out. About noon, I called my insurance broker and I said, you know what, bring that little yardstick. We have a date at 2 o'clock at Theodore Worth. He did, he showed up, and the snow was gone. We had to cancel the event, couldn't put a pair of skis on. The policy paid off, and of course, the participants, the skiers, who were committed to this cause, they had collected pledges from their friends and families all over the place, and they collected and delivered. So we had a nice little twist at the end of the day when the insurance company paid off. That was a fundraiser with a little twist. That's it. It was great fun. Thank you, Leslee, for being there and being part of it, and thank you all for doing what you're all doing.
Thank you, Ivar. That's quite inspirational. The Sons of Norway Foundation has supported Ski for Light ever since it put up seed money for our first event in Colorado in '75. And at least 3 of its former presidents are here. And that's Leslee and Erik Sorensen, you just heard from hubby. And the third one is Kjell, my brother. So that's 3, plus the current president who is here, and we'd like to hear from him. Merv Eriksson, another Eriksson. Good.
Good evening. I'm Merv Eriksson, the chair of the Sons of Norway Foundation, and we have been a supporter of Ski for Light for 50 years, and we will continue, I think, as long as Ski for Light exists. I also am visually impaired, and so tonight's event is especially significant for me. I spent the first half of my life fully sighted without any clue that I had a genetic marker bouncing around that was going to cause me challenges later in life. And about 32 years ago, my ophthalmologist sat me down and said, you are going blind, and I don't know if it will take 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, but you're going to lose most of your vision. Blindness is a terrifying thing, especially for fully sighted people. And that was a hole that was hard to get out of. And the way I did was with support of family and friends and organizations like Ski for Light. And so I thank you not only as a representative of the Sons of Norway Foundation, but also personally. What you do is extraordinarily important. I know two young men who have the same visual impairment that I do, and they started a company called Two Blind Brothers. And I think some of you have heard of it. They sell men's apparel and a lot of other things, but those guys are a couple of real hoots. I listened to one of them at a low vision conference this spring, and he said something that really resonated to me. He said, I hate Stargardt disease. I hate the visual impairment I have. I hate having had to give up so many things that I love doing. But he said, you know, some of the most important things I've learned in life, I learned because of this impairment. And that really resonated with me. And I thought, you know, one of the things I learned was that I can't do it all. When I need help, I need to ask, and then I need to accept help, whether it be from family or friends or organizations like Ski for Light. And so it's really, really important, the work that you do. And just one other thing that I learned, I have always done dumb things. As my vision has gotten worse, I do them more frequently. I've been in events like this with dim lighting and introduced myself to people I've known for 50 years. A while back, I introduced myself to my wife. We've been married over 47 years. I've gone through buffet lines and sat at the wrong table in restaurants. A couple of years ago, I sat down at a table at a banquet like this and ate another guy's salad. You know, and a couple of weeks ago, I started dropping my tip money into the full coffee cup of a man behind me at a Starbucks. Not good. But when that happens, you have a choice of doing two things. You can laugh or you can cry. And laughing is a whole lot more fun. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with crying either, but do that later. And that's why watching these videos of the events just stand out to me. Watching impaired people just having a great time and laughing. That's something really important. So thank you for 50 years. Keep it up and keep it going.
Thank you, Merv, and double thank you for your commitment for the foundation to keep on giving to Ski for Light. That's good to hear. I'm pleased now to introduce someone whose last name especially has a very good ring in Ski for Light circles, namely Leif Eikevik, son of the late Stephen Eikevik and grandson of the late great former Ski for Light president Bjarne Eikevik, who came up with the Ski for Light slogan, "Take a good thing and make it better." Stephen was a Ski for Light instructor guide, but also instrumental in launching Ski for Light's summertime program, which some of us have participated in. Leif, not surprisingly, will speak about Ski for Light as a family affair. Leif, you're on.
Hello, I'm Leif Eikevik. So I wanted to just first, I got a call 9 months ago from Leslee. You talk about planning extraordinaire. It is hard to plan anything, but she was way ahead of it. And I want to say this event has been meticulously planned. And so I just want to, just a toast to Leslee and Marion. Those two brought so much together. Thank you. And if you haven't met Julie, you saw her on the video, there's some incredible leadership behind this group, so it's an honor to be up here. I also wanted to say the music from Mads, I wasn't going to say this, but then I heard you playing, and I thought, my goodness, this is unusual and fascinating music. Delta just opened a nonstop flight to Copenhagen so that Mads can come back, so we appreciate this, or vice versa. So, my part today is about a family affair, which is such an honor for so many reasons. Many of you have family reasons and family ties back to Ski for Light. It is a unique organization, and I brought this very special book here, which is from 1985, 2 years after I was born. I'm 41. And admittedly, I haven't looked at it that much until this year when Leslee called me, and goodness am I glad I did, because the words of some of the great people behind us are embedded in this book, if you haven't seen it. So I'll be fairly quick here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about just the incredible legacy of this and its impact on my family. So you have to wonder if an economic downturn is a good thing, but it was 2010, and I had not been hired for my architecture internship job yet, and I was sitting at home wondering what to do. And suddenly, I think it was my grandmother, and honestly, it was Marit. She said, my father, Leif, is going to Ski for Light again. He's been going for 30 or some years, and he hasn't missed one, and he'd love somebody to drive with him. So I said, well, I have nothing else going on because of the government, or because of the economy, so here I go. So I jumped in the car. We drove to Deadwood first. We did the regional in Black Hills. Wonderful way to break in before we went to Provo, Utah, Soldier Hollow, which was a little bit a level up. I had a great time with Leif Eikevik, and we were in his Cadillac driving across the wild open plains of Utah and Colorado and Wyoming, and what a pleasure to get to know this man. We get there, and I walk in. We do a quick run. As anybody you've known, if you're a guide, you go and you do it. You're training out on the mountains. And I came back in, and the rest of my week was going to unfold because the ladies of Ski for Light, Marion, Brenda, you know who you are, pointed at another guide and said, "Have you seen the Eikevik boy?" And I was 20 or 30 feet away. I didn't hear this, but there was a conspiring faction. So either they were trying to play matchmaker, or they were feeling very sad for her and think she needed a friend. Needless to say, I had a wonderful time with Leif and with the group here and with this wonderful girl here. We ultimately got married. We had 3 kids. They were born more than 9 months after Ski for Light. In case any of you are wondering what kind of shenanigans happen at Ski for Light, no shenanigans happen at Ski for Light. But we have three kids, 7, 5, and 2, Frida, Ingrid, and Finn. We tried very hard not to name them Norwegian names, and I think we succeeded. So, speaking of the Eikevik boys, and honestly, there's Eikevik women behind all those Eikevik boys, but I got this incredible book after I came back from Ski for Light. It was from my grandma Ruth, who was the force behind Bjarne Eikevik. And it said, right on the front, back when we used to write in books, it said, "Congratulations, Leif, on your participation in your first Ski for Light. You are following tradition. First, Grandpa Bjarne, then his son Steve, and then his son and Grandpa's grandson, Leif. Pretty neat, I would say. Know you will enjoy this book. Love, Grandma Ruth." It reminds me of our favorite singer, Jimmy Buffett, who had a song, Son of a Sailor, which is exactly what I was at the time. So, my grandpa was a sailor who came over from Norway, and he was a true immigrant. He started digging ditches and delivering ice. He bought a construction company with no experience except that he could dig the holes that they were putting the pools into, and ended up becoming a wildly successful pool construction owner. And this man, Bjarne Eikevik, went on to get intimately involved with Ski for Light. And so here's where we get to the part that I found very interesting, and it happens to be in this book as well. I think of things in terms of pulling the team together, and my goodness, when you read how they pulled the team together, it was straight out of the Magnificent Seven, or my father would have said the Dirty Dozen. So if you've seen either of those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bjarne Eik, got a call, and actually I think he had Erik Bye and him were out at the Leif Eriksson Day Festival on the beach. Was a wild party all the time, and this thing started to roll. I'm going to miss some details here, but it turned from a few people with a few ideas, and you know who you are. You're part of the Magnificent Seven or the Dirty Dozen, and it started to turn into this cross-country, door-to-door cut scene where you go to Oregon, Seattle, Chicago, D.C., Brooklyn. You find all these cohorts of people who you know would be champions for this idea. But most importantly, you go to the Ski for Light organization because there's 10,000, 100,000 people behind that organization. And they created the impetus through people, and it really was Einar, or it was Erling Stordahl's idea, reluctantly passed on to the U.S. because he didn't believe anybody could really pull it off here. And you have Olav here who says, well, maybe I would. And then you've got your integrator, which is a term that I like to think of as you have the idea and then you have the integrator. And this person begins to integrate it across the team. And I think that was Bjarne, and that was the team with Bjarne. That was Einar. I wrote the names down, and I know you all very well, but it quite literally is a team of geniuses and hard workers and planners, going back to Leslee and going back to the team here. I'm going to just say Olav, Denver, Erling from Norway, Bjarne from Fort Lauderdale, Kjell Bergh and Einar here in Minneapolis, Leslee here in Minneapolis. You have Storedal, who is the Sons of Norway Foundation head. And then you have the 7 Sons of Norway districts in Chicago, Brooklyn, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Oregon, British Columbia. You've got Norway behind this, and you've got the Lions clubs. So literally a few people put all of this together and drove this idea. And within 3 to 4 months, I believe, they had raised the money and they had recruited the guides, they had planned the hotels, and they had everything set up. So you talk about the Magnificent Seven. I mean, this is a team that went from dozens to hundreds. So one of the events he went to was a recalcitrant group of people, and somebody stood up and said, "This is a terrible idea. You cannot speak for the visually impaired, and I know this won't work." But the treasurer of that Sons of Norway Lodge, who was quite notorious for never spending money, stood up and he said, quote, "What you have proposed to us, Brother Eikevik, is part of our heritage, and we must support it." And everybody fell in line. So I wanted to just say they brought 130 people to Colorado, many of whom had never done this program. The U.S. had never done this program, and it was a reality, thanks to these people. And it wasn't just Bjarne, it was a team around him. I will just speak very briefly because I'm out of time here, but my father used to speak. My father was Leif Eikevik, and he used to speak glowingly about the Ungevenner and the Sports for Health event, which was really them saying, okay, we're done with the week of Ski for Light, so what now? Can't we just keep doing things like this all year long? And I remember when my wife Lucy and I were at Ski for Light, they'd talk about the canoeing and the biking. Well, they started something with the help of Sons of Norway called the Sports for Health, which was 5 events, because you can't make somebody bike for a week or do any one thing for a week. So you got biking, you have swimming, hiking, you have, it's called sound ball, but it was kind of bing ball. It would make a sound the whole time, and many of you here have played this. Or it was the parkours. And all 4 of those were very popular. The 5th one, parkours, was extremely unpopular because you would have to run a mile and do pull-ups as you ran. And so people would go hiking, and they would hide on the hike and never show up to the parkours. I can relate to this. So, but my father loved this, and a lot of the Sons of Norway folks, Einar and Bud Keith, they flew in to support this. And I think the notion of year-round wellness is very important. I think we are all, in the U.S., trying to embrace this and trying to find avenues for this. And to say that Ski for Light was ahead of its time is really, it's not even just that it's ahead of its time. I think we've learned some things and forgotten some things. And so it would be quite amazing if we could bring that pendulum back. So I just wanted to say in closing, the legacy of Ski for Light is not just my family legacy, because that's just a tiny part of it. The legacy is how it changes everybody, and it makes people want to come back, and they start to plan their year around it. And not only are they planning their year around it, but the group here is spending 11 to 12 months upon exit of Ski for Light. They're planning the next one. It is an incredible event. It is an incredible group of planners, and people are committed to return because they know when they come back it will be amazing. So you know who you are, and thank you so much. I will say that for all of us here, if you understand the concept of change management or team building, we all know people who ski. We all know people who would do this. We know people who are young enough to go or who are retired and have the time to go. And I would say find those people and tell them to go, because there are skiers here, VIPs and MIPs, who cannot link up because there's not enough guys. So you have to go out, recruit, tell them when it is, and send them. And this goes for myself as well. You can ignore your millennial friends who have 3 kids, they have 2 jobs, but they all work from home, and if they went away for a week, their bosses would not know that they were gone. So this funny little turn of words is what I think about Ski for Light. I owe my family for Ski for Light. That's Bjarne, Steve, Ruth. But I also owe Ski for Light for my family. So thank you all.
Excellent speech. Thank you, Leif. At both the Ridderen and Ski for Light, it seems that the fresh air, the exercise, and the camaraderie bring out creativity in both participants and guides. And there's a lot of talent in our ranks. Let's hear now from a multi-talented Norwegian called Robert Skarsbakk, who is an industrial engineer, a singer, songwriter, a guitarist, and also a guide and interpreter for a deaf-blind man called Harald Vik. Robert has agreed to let us play one of his music videos. So it's called Maybe Someday.
I'm the one who's keeping this alive. I'm the one who struggles to have a good time. I'm the one who's keeping a straight line while you're not. the only one who doesn't understand? Well, you're the only one who doesn't care. Am I the only one who's afraid? Who's afraid? You said your words and I've been listening, speaking loudly and truly about everything. Missing the content, I'm a lost for words. Only you're not. Am I the only one who doesn't understand?
That was not the tune I announced, but he's still pretty good. Ski for Light isn't only for visually impaired persons or VIPs, it's also for mobility impaired persons or MIPs and their guides. MIPs use sit skis when they're out in the tracks, and Jeff Pagels is a sit ski pioneer and a 5-time Paralympic medalist and former Ski for Light board member. He's also climbed a mountain or two and written a book or two. And just like your master of ceremonies, he loves fishing. He couldn't join us in person today, but he did send us a short video with his remarks. Here's Jeff Pagels.
Hi, I'm Jeff Pagels. While participants at Ski for Light are usually have visual impairments, there is also a subgroup with mobility impairments called MIPS. They usually are skiers who are wheelchair users and propel themselves along the ski trails by double poling. Most of the time, MIPS ski in the guide track and makes passing of either group easier. The first MIPS appeared at Ski for Light in 1975 and have been a presence ever since. In the early years, many MIPS came from Norway. How many wheelchair users could be accepted at a Ski for Light event usually was limited by the number of accessible motel rooms. In the early days before the invention of the sit ski, MIPS used a sled-like pulk. The pulk, made in Norway, was constructed of fiberglass and very difficult to propel along the trail with the very standard short ski poles available. There were several guides who took teamwork to another level.
Now we'll hear from a VIP called Sherry Richardson. Sherry, are you ready? Who is also the event chair for the upcoming 50th anniversary event in Provo, Utah.
What a great, great honor to be here tonight. Like Lucas, I grew up in Georgia, and Lucas, I would say, be careful what you ask for because you might get it in this group. So the only skiing I knew about when I was growing up was on the water with the help of a motorboat. It was not until I moved out to Seattle that I learned about the Ski for Light program. That was about 30 years ago. And I heard about it from the president of our local Ski for Light group, which is the Puget Sound group, which I'm very proud of. And I loved the idea of going to the mountains and playing in the snow, so I signed up. And that's history. I began attending the International only about 10 years ago. So I guess a lot of you in this crowd would say, I'm really still a novice in this group. But what an honor to be asked to chair the 2025 event. And a little terrifying as well, I must say. Soldier Hollow Nordic Center is such an ideal location for celebrating our 50th anniversary. And I really can't wait. I have an amazing team of Ski for Light guides, skiers, and volunteers working really hard to make it one of the most memorable and successful event we've ever had. And of course, none of this could happen without the support of the Sons of Norway, so I want to say thank you for that. And I'm actually a Sons of Norway member myself with the Edmonds Washington Lodge in memory of one of our dear friends, Bob Stevenson. So, yeah, thanks. So what does Ski for Light mean to me? Well, now I work much harder than I used to stay in shape, so I can actually ski every winter and not embarrass myself too much. And the best thing of all, I'm part of a program and an organization that has made such a tremendous difference in so many people's lives. I feel so fortunate to be a part of so much history and tradition, and I'm super excited about the next 50 years of Ski for Light. And speaking of history and tradition, I also want to take this opportunity to recognize a visually impaired skier who is with us tonight. She hasn't missed a single event since 1977. She has also served on the Ski for Light board in every possible role since 1980 and has chaired 8 international events, which is hard for me to imagine. Her experience and contributions to the success of Ski for Light are truly unsurpassed. And of course, I'm speaking of our own Judy Dixon. She also has a really wonderful dog. So thank you all so much for being here tonight to help celebrate Ski for Light's 50th year. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Our current Ski for Light president is next. Please come up. Julie Coppens.
Thank you, Einar. Let's just have another round of applause for him. What a wonderful MC. What a great program you put together. He's worked so hard on this. And Mary and Leslie, I was driving up from Cincinnati. I had Keb Mo, do you know the blues artist, playing on the radio, and the song came on, Put a Woman in Charge. And I thought of you ladies. You are rocking it. Thank you so much for this incredible evening. In my other life outside of Ski for Light, I'm a theater artist, and I just wanted to share a quote from the great Irish playwright and critic George Bernard Shaw. He said, "Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations." For every one of us here, there are hundreds, thousands of people at Ski for Light who have carried that story forward, who have carried that torch. And I just want to say that if tonight's stories you've heard, the people you've met, if that's lit a little spark in you, you're feeling the fire, there are a few things that you can do. First of all, come play in the snow with us. Sherry talked about our Provo event in January. In Provo, we are still recruiting guides. We definitely need a few more folks to go out and ski with our visually mobility impaired skiers. We also need other volunteers. So if you're not necessarily a skier, there's a lot of other ways you can help as a worker bee. And because it's our anniversary, we chose to have our event at a big downtown Marriott, plenty of room for all of you to come, be a guest, have a good time with us. Go to sfl.org and apply. It's really easy to do. But please act now because we need you. And be thinking about SFL 2026. We generally don't announce the next site, but I'll just say it's at a somewhat higher elevation than Provo. It's going to be fantastic as well. Another way you can help, obviously, with your financial contributions. And you see these on your table. We've got pledge cards, envelopes. If you feel moved to give tonight, I will gratefully accept that and turn it in. You can also just take it home, talk to your friends, talk to your loved ones. On the back of your program, take this home as well. There's a QR code that takes you right to our donation page. It's really easy to give online. You may or may not know this, but everyone who comes to Ski for Light, it's not a free trip. We all pay our way to go. Everyone pays something. But thanks to the generous donors that we have, we're able to subsidize the cost of the event. This year at Ski for Light in Provo, it's a very high-end ski center we're going to. Provo's expensive. Everything's getting more expensive for us, just like for everyone else in the world. But we're able to offset the cost by almost a fourth, thanks to the generosity of our donors, foundations, all the people who give. So thank you for that. And I will say, as time goes on, we are fighting climate change. The fact is there are fewer places around the country with reliable snow in moderately priced ski destinations. There just aren't too many of them left, and so we're left to go to where all the downhill skiers go. And if you've ever been to Vail or Telluride, these are expensive places. And so we do face something of an existential threat to our sport, our skiing. We want to go to places where there will be snow. And to do that, we need snow angels. So that's another way that you can give and support the next 50 years. But even more than that, as much as we cherish every gift, and I will say at Ski for Light, if you don't know this, there is no staff. We are all volunteers. We do this because we love it. For a lot of us, like Leif, it gave us our family. Ski for Light has become our second family. We love it. Every time a check comes in and I see a name, I know that is someone who loves this organization as much as I do. We do make the most of every dollar, believe me. As much as we cherish those dollars, the third and probably the absolutely most powerful way that you can carry that torch for us is with your voice. Go out into the world, be an ambassador for Ski for Light. Tell our story, subscribe to our newsletter, get on our YouTube, send those links, be an influencer, except instead of promoting the latest makeup tips and fashion trends, you will be an influencer behind the idea that the winter outdoors are for everyone, and that a week of cross-country skiing in partnership with another person can change your life. So I want to challenge you all to keep carrying that torch. And to all of the torchbearers in this room, I hope you know how much we take the responsibility on us to keep carrying that torch. We are not going to let it down. We're not going to let you down. We honor you so much. I can't tell you what it means to me to see all of you out there, the people who made this program what it is. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, and we are going to keep going. So thank you all for being here tonight. I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Julie. Norway has a new ambassador in this country, and she knows all about Ski for Light because she sent us a video, a short video with greetings. We'll put that on.
Hello everyone, I'm Anniken Huitfeldt. I am Norway's ambassador to the US. So hello to all my friends at Ski for Light. I'm honored to congratulate you on your 50th anniversary this winter. This event shares some history with its sister program, Ridderne, in Norway, which has been around since the 1960s. I just finished this book by the Norwegian ambassador to the US 50 years ago. And in this book, he wrote about a Norwegian immigrant named Olav Pedersen, who brought this same concept to the US. Since then, Ski for Light has made sure that skiing is an experience that everyone can be a part of. And I'm proud of its Norwegian history, and I'm proud of all of you. I am an enthusiastic skier myself, and I cannot wait to hit the slopes this winter. I hope to see some of you in Provo.
And next, not on video, but very much live here, is the Norwegian Honorary Consul General in Minnesota, Eivind Heiberg. Vær så god.
Thank you. Good evening. You just saw the greeting from the ambassador, and I had the pleasure of spending a couple of days with the ambassador earlier this week, and I can tell you that from the bottom of her heart, she was very saddened that she couldn't be here tonight. For the longest time, that was in the plans, and we tried to make it happen, but there were things back in DC that took her back a little earlier, unfortunately. But as you heard, Provo is on the horizon, and fingers crossed, many of you will see the ambassador in Provo early 2025. But dear friends of Ski for Light, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Ski for Light, I'm encouraging everyone to reflect on the 5 decades of empowering visually and mobility impaired individuals through transformative sport of classic cross-country skiing. Since its founding, Ski for Light has embraced the belief that everyone should have the opportunity to experience the exhilaration of gliding over snow, whether to master a new skill, enhance endurance, or simply enjoy the joy of movement and freedom. On a personal note, I've been honored to serve on the Ski for Light Board of Directors and participate in several incredible events. And those rewarding experiences, I can tell you, remain with me to this day. And I'm truly fortunate to play a tiny and very, very small role in this admirable organization. Together, you have really built more than just an organization. You've created a community where barriers fall away and possibility takes flight. I was in Norway as recent as 10 days ago. And while I was there, I had a meeting at the Royal Palace. And during my conversations with a couple of folks there, Ski for Light came up. Not only are they aware of Ski for Light, but they're certainly aware of this 50th anniversary. And as I mentioned in those conversations, I said, wouldn't it be special if there could be a greeting from the royal family on this occasion? And I can tell you that the Royal Palace and the royal family delivered. So really in the past 24 hours, I just received a greeting from the Royal Palace and His Majesty King Harald V that I would like to share with you. I send everyone who is present at Ski for Light's 50th anniversary celebrations on October 12th, 2024 at Norway House in Minneapolis my warm greetings and best wishes. And it's signed Huddle R. Again, thank you for letting me be part of this special evening. Here's to 50 years of shared triumphs and to many more years of skiing, learning, and growing together. Thank you.
Earlier tonight, we heard from brilliant Danish-American violinist Mats Tolling. That was swinging music there, wasn't it? He is ready to do another piece for us now at the end of the program. It's called Danish Dessert. Very appropriate. And he wrote it himself. So serve it up, Mats.
I just also want to mention, as I learn more about this organization, I have really fond memories of going as a kid to Hemsedalen and Skykamp and Geilo, actually just in January, to go skiing with my family. And Denmark, we don't have strong winter traditions at all in our country. As a matter of fact, the best result we've ever had in the Winter Olympics was a bronze medal in women's curling in 1998. So that's like pretty embarrassing when you're talking Norway, right? But nonetheless, just every year I would go up and, a lot of Danes hit trees and stuff on the way down. It's kind of embarrassing. But we do our best. And, just to speak to this story of the Danish dessert that I'm about to play, is a little bit of a background story. You may have this here in Minneapolis, maybe in Norway, I don't know, but the name of the dessert that my mom used to make when I was a kid growing up over there is called rød grød med fløde. That's basically a berry reduction with cream, and it's very delicious, and it's one of the things that us Danes like to tease foreigners that don't speak Danish, try to say rød grød med fløde, and they choke. Literally. No, not literally. To make it a little easier for my American friends, I decided to go with the title, Danish Dessert. Here it is.
Very good. Our last speaker tonight, we're a little bit past our cutoff time here, but our last speaker is a long-time board member of Ski for Light and also a past president of the organization and chair of our 50th anniversary committee. Plus, she's the organizer of the official Ski for Light contingent's trip to Beitostølen at the Ridderen every year. Marion Elmqvist, I leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Einar. And thanks for being such a good MC, Master of Ceremonies this evening. Great job. So what a wonderful evening. I think it was all that it was promised to be, and what a wonderful celebration of this remarkable all-volunteer organization that has thrived for 50 years, half a century. It's amazing. Ski for Light has changed so many lives over the years, and what's so special about this organization is that it's not an advocacy organization, it's an activity program. I'm so proud of how our actions advocate without words, but by doing. Our mission is to hold an annual week-long event that brings together folks with visual and mobility disabilities and sighted and able-bodied skiers who work in partnership to enjoy the sport of cross-country skiing. We learn from each other, we celebrate our similarities and our differences. We celebrate the Ski for Light legacy of creating life memories and friendships and enhancing the quality of life for all who participate, skiers and guides alike. Now I'd like to ask Leslee Lane Hoyum to come up to the lectern. But when I asked Leslee to chair this gala, I knew she'd do a great job. I think this evening has exceeded all expectations. She did better than a great job, and I'm so grateful to her for doing this. This is just a little something from me. It's a pewter medal with 2 cross-country skiers on a plaque, and it says, "Many thanks to Leslee Lane Hoyum for creating a spectacular gala for the Ski for Light's 50th anniversary." Thank you, Leslee.
My pleasure. For 50 years, Ski for Light's been in my heart. It's never going to leave my heart, and I hope you'll take it in your heart home.
Last couple of words. Please leave your name tags on the tables, and also please leave the centerpieces on the tables. Take the annual reports, the donor cards, all the other stuff. But good night, travel home safely, and let's look forward to the next half century. Thanks all, good night.